Matrix is proud to be the exclusive sponsor of Shorts with Liz Clark. With over 20 years as a dedicated supporter of the fitness industry, we're thrilled to continue a partnership geared towards success for all those who believe in better.
Well, hello. Today's guest is a true pioneer in the wellness world that I am so excited to be with. Someone who redefines what fitness, leadership, and community can really look like. Sadie Lincoln is the co-founder and CEO of Bar3, a wildly successful fitness brand with over 200 studios across the US, and each one of those owned and operated by a woman. So, raised in a progressive matriarchal community, Sadie's unique upbringing, I think, deeply informed her values and driven approach for business that we're going to talk about today. For over 17 years, she's grown Bar3 without private equity and staying true to her mission of inclusivity, empowerment, and mindful movement. Her work has been featured in Time, Forbes, NPR, Medium, and now today we're honored to have her as part of Shorts with Liz. Really to talk about the rise of boutique fitness, women-led business, and what it really means to lead with strength and authenticity. So welcome, Sadie. I'm so excited to see you today.
I'm so happy to be here with you. Thanks, Liz.
Awesome. Okay, so listen, we're going to jump right in. And, first, you've often mentioned about your unconventional and matriarchal upbringing when discussing your approach, your personal approach to business. So maybe can you give our listeners a little bit of background on how you grew up and sort of where that foundation came from?
Sure. I grew up mostly in Eugene, Oregon. First 5 years were in Taos, New Mexico, but mostly Eugene, Oregon. And my
Both of
mom,
those are gorgeous places, by the way. I
they
mean,
are,
yes, yes.
yeah, yeah, beautiful, beautiful places. My mom, in her early 20s, met what would end up becoming her lifelong friends and family, really, chosen family. A group of women. There was five of them. One of them passed away a couple years ago, but they became her dearest friends, and they all were new mothers and single, and they decided to raise us kids together collaboratively.
Wow.
It wasn't a commune. There wasn't like some kind of spiritual kind of leader or that kind of thing. It was in the late 60s when people were sort of redefining their lives and questioning the system and how they could live in a new way and congruent with their values and maybe a different way than the traditional nuclear family. And
So yeah, are those your brothers and sisters?
yeah, so the other children are like brothers and sisters to me. And to this day, here we are. I'm 52 years old. All these years later, we are still a very close family and a really, yeah, a special community, a chosen community of family. And I truly, I'm so lucky I got to have not only my mom, who obviously I'm hers, loves me unconditionally, but I have these other women that have always supported me unconditionally in my life. And they aren't related to me. They don't have to. They've really chosen to be there for me in that way. And I think that has really informed me in a lot of ways and in a lot of ways, the foundation of why I built Bar3.
Oh, I love that. That is so cool. That is so cool. So you built Bar3, but frankly, I really think before that, uh, boutique fitness didn't look like it does today. So when you started to build it, I guess what lens were you looking through when you said, well, is something missing here from industry that you think that needed to be created that really, provided the opportunity that wasn't already on the scene?
Yeah, so I opened my first studio in August of 2008. So it's been 17 years, and the landscape was really different back then. Bar was starting to take off as a niche. Yoga had been around for a long time, as more of a, I guess what you would call a boutique concept. And I grew up at 24-hour fitness. So right out of grad school, I got a job at 24-hour fitness. And I was fortunate to work for the founder and then CEO, Mark Mastrov, for 11 years, and obviously the team. And was able to be a part of something that started at 25 gyms, and we grew it to 430 globally. Um, and through that whole experience, I loved the fitness industry. I was super excited. It was a phenomenal experience to learn so much about the business, with, arguably one of the greats, right? The great in the industry, Mark Mastrov. Um, and but all along the way, as I would travel to different gyms, I started to discover yoga and yoga studios. And I just loved the intimacy of it, feeling so connected. There weren't screens and technology and equipment. It was a simple space where we would move together, and it just felt soul filling for me. And so I really did like that. So that sort of informed it. But I also really missed the group exercise, a good downbeat, and more of the traditional functional fitness elements. I started to go to bar. I loved the idea of working at a ballet bar, but more as a modification for things like chaturangas. I have chronic arthritis in my wrist and low back issues. So, and then I loved Pilates, but back then Pilates was really small. It was more of a one-on-one model. And so I started to blend together the different elements of exercising in a small studio space together that really solved a need for me. I really scratched my own itch. And one of the things I really wanted to solve for more than anything was a sense of feeling lonely and not like I truly belonged somewhere. Specifically in fitness, I didn't feel like I belonged in a gym. I honestly didn't feel like I belonged in a yoga studio either, because I didn't follow that heritage as closely. Um, and same thing with bar for that matter. Bar is really attached to the Lottie Burke method and that heritage, and that didn't quite feel right for me. So I wanted to create a concept where the client was the hero versus the methodology or the heritage being the hero, and where we could really come together, connect, and move in our own way, in a place where truly everyone knew your name, a third place, if you will.
Yeah, I have the privilege, obviously, of talking to a lot of owners and founders of everybody in this space. And people do talk so much about community and what that means. And I do see there are folks that don't feel welcome. Exactly like you said, they don't feel like they've got a home. They don't feel that way. So for you to have created it, and I love it that you just said Pilates is soul filling. I'll tell you, I do Pilates, and for me, it's partly because it takes so many movements and things like out of your head that you can't actually think about anything else other than what you're doing in that moment. And I think bar is the same way. I feel that way, that you actually can escape and feel that you are escaping and really enjoying the community and the people around you. So it's really totally brilliant. And then obviously, yes, you talked about Mark. What's Mark like to work with? Yeah, Mark's a great guy, and I'd love, your perspective on it.
Well, back then when I was really working with him, very entrepreneurial,
Mhm.
like uber entrepreneur. And he saw that in me too. And one of my jobs working for him, I had so many funny titles over my 11 years, but one of them was special projects director, which sounds like, I don't know, I was like a spy or something, but it was so fun. He would literally send me on special projects, like things that just needed more research, more analysis. Um, and so I would go. I went all through Europe, and I shopped different gyms and came back with, back then, a binder, right? A
Yep.
touring binder with all the pamphlets I collected in my experience at these different gyms. I would work with branding agencies and really try to distill like our differentiation, and all kinds of things, sales, marketing. He sent me on a lot of different adventures. And one of the adventures was really the seed of what ended up becoming Bar 3 under the umbrella company. At one point, my husband came on board after having a lunch with Mark Mastrop, and I'll never forget. He was like, "Do you want to be 100,000-aire, or would you like to be a multimillionaire?"
Yeah.
And Chris and I were like, "Multimillionaires."
Right. What kind of question is that? Right.
But he would just put that like promise in front of you. So like, of course, we're like these young, kids basically, like, yeah, that sounds really good. Um, but he so Chris came on board and we were able to develop a franchise concept under the parent company. We worked with a consulting firm, iFranchise, and we developed something that we were going to call the Loop. And we actually tested it, I think, in maybe 15 small box gyms. And so, and then things happened and the company sold and Mark exited. But that experience really allowed me and Chris as husband and wife to realize how well we worked together. And that magic was something that we brought to Bar 3 and the idea to franchise as well. So yeah, he really invited me to explore myself as an entrepreneur and believed in me that way. And, I'm really appreciative of it.
Yeah, that's great. He's so fantastic and has done so many amazing things for this industry. So, okay, so you're starting out, and now though, like you've come, from the start out of the Loop to now over, I think, what is it, 207
Yes.
studios of Bar 3, and all owned and operated by women.
Uh-huh.
So was that intentional from the start, or did it evolve naturally, part of your mission, part of how you were raised? Where did the all women thing come?
Yeah, our whole business has been intentional from the start. Chris and I put together a business plan before we opened our first Bar 3 studio, knowing we were going to franchise, knowing we were going to do it at scale, knowing that we were going to design a workout based on what women need. And that's the other thing that I felt is still missing from the industry, but I felt that way back 17 years ago. Very few fitness concepts at scale are designed around women's physiology, and really hardly any concepts include women's psychology.
Mm.
And we do both, and we have since the very beginning. And because I believe that our inner dialogue about our feelings towards our own bodies and how connected we are within our bodies is just as important as getting strong, having endurance, joint mobility, all the great physiological benefits. But women really need different things for our physiology than men do. So right from the beginning, this is designed clearly for women. And I knew because of that, mostly women were going to come in our doors, right? And then I really believe in an organic growth strategy. I wanted to grow as an owner operated model where it would be hyper local. And this is true to what happened, hyper local in that, wow, I really love Bar 3. I really resonate with this in my own body. I feel part of this community. I want to open my own. And then they open their own studio and are central to that studio. And so that just voted, that's why we're 100% owned and operated by women to this day, because we continue to grow organically and with people who are really aligned and resonate with the product and want to open it in their own community.
How much of that has required your time and your husband, Chris, like the hands-on instruction of running a business? I think that so often in this industry, people are passionate about an issue, but sometimes just understanding basic real estate or all of that stuff. So how much of that has required, even though it's a franchise model, but for you all to sort of step in and really educate and help lift these companies?
We're a franchisor. That is our job.
Yeah.
That is our purpose. That is our reason for being. And I love being a franchisor because I had that amazing wisdom growing up at 24 Hour Fitness. I had the business foundation. So did Chris. And then certainly over the last 17 years, we've honed in on it, and we're experts at it. We're experts at site selection, the build out process, how to train instructors, how to keep instructors, how to recruit instructors, how to build a community that is based on the client being the hero versus us being the hero, how to infuse our vision, mission, and core values authentically within any stakeholder in our organization, how to build a wonderful website, how to do digital marketing well, how to do grassroots marketing, lead generation, all these building blocks of building a successful company. It's all I've ever done since I was 25 years old. More than half my life, this is what I've done. And so I get to provide those tools to every single one of those women, me and my team of 45 full-time employees, right? That's what we do. That's our reason for being. And then our partners bring what they uniquely have, whether it was, I used to be a nurse, I was a financial analyst. I was a Division I athlete and injured myself and rehabbed myself at bar 3. Their backstory comes to us, and they get to bring their wisdom and their unique genius to their local studio, combined with the support of being a part of a network. And then all of us get to do it together and have one common voice out in the world saying being fit on the inside is more important than what you look like on the outside. Community matters even more than exercise and being healthy. Like we have this narrative that we're very passionate about, and because there's so many of us saying the same thing, we're able to shift the culture a little more. And all of that is why we franchise, why we love being a franchisor.
Yeah. So to that point around culture, right? You've been able to do this for 17 years without private equity or outside investors, which is really rare. And so, but having that financial dependence, what has that meant, I guess, for shaping culture and growth within Bar 3?
Well, it means that all we have focused on at Bar 3 is listening to our clients and solving the problem for her, because it's mostly women, and innovating around her and different inflection points in her life and making sure that we are creating something for her. That's who we report to, our clients. And for me, my franchisees, all those women, making sure that I'm building something that's sustainable over time, that's not a flash in the pan. We aren't just building to be profitable, but I will say, Liz, we're building our company like we're going to exit. We're building our company with purpose and profit.
Yep.
It is empowering for all these women to be profitable. And I think in recent years, that's been a real focus for us, is to figure out, okay, we've had our heads down and we've really built this insular company. And now it's time to lift up and bring in outside experts with playbooks and really figure out. It's way more competitive than it used to be. There is a need for, an outside playbook. And so Chris and I really have a love of learning and bringing in different folks to the table, as long as they are in service to our vision, mission, and core values and our clients and solving the problem for them. And we're open to private equity. We're open to a strategic or, figuring out how to accelerate our growth. And we also are myopic in our focus around women and the people we serve.
Yeah. Oh, it's been such an evolution. And so I'd love for you to take us back a little bit about early challenges that you faced. And again, your unique upbringing, did that have anything to do with, how you helped navigate, building to 207?
I think the earliest challenge, when I look back at the history of Bar 3, was because we grew organically in the beginning. It was clients who stepped up and decided to and kind of raised their hand and said, I want to be a part of this. And we kind of grew up together. Our first leadership team didn't have outside experience of running like a global franchise organization with a digital streaming business in over 100 countries, and own studios. We have a really dynamic business with three different clear revenue streams, and a real attention to brand. All of that happened pretty quickly in the early years. We scaled quite quickly. And I think what I learned is, if I could go back and talk to my younger version, I would say, raise your hand and get out there earlier and find some people from the outer world, not just the inner birthry world, to come and help leverage what you've built. Um, and what would it look like to have, your dream marketer next to you, your dream operator, like the best HR person you can ever imagine, and that you deserve to have those people around the table with you right now. So you can focus on what you do best, and that's me. And I've learned that now. I love these kinds of conversations. I love connecting people to the bigger picture and the grander narrative that we're trying to shift in the world. I'm not a good day-to-day operator, right? And I think I
Yeah,
push
so go hire one that is, right? Yeah.
exactly and believe that you can. Believe that you deserve that. And also like let your ego step aside for a minute. Like someone can do this better than you, right? And I guess that's the hero's journey of every entrepreneur, but I think it took me a little longer to figure that out. And I always, when I mentor new kind of up and coming business people, and especially women, I think women have a little harder time with it. We're not really invited around the table as easily. We're not networked quite as well as I think men are. Just historically, that's shifting. But I really always encourage people to like figure out who their dream team is, go out and invite them in, invite yourself around the table if you're not already invited, go to the networking event, be confident, and know that your product and what you're solving is deserving of the best team you can find.
I love that. So it's funny. One of the things I often talk about, because my background is really in advocacy, and so talking about really making sure that you're at the table for conversations about business things. And I say, if you're not at the table, then you're on the menu, and that's a problem. And if there's not a chair at the table, then get a folding chair and invite yourself to the table. So I love that. So I want to ask you a little bit about, tell me about Chris, tell me about your husband, because I think yin and yang sometimes works. Maybe you guys are like both the same. And how do you play on each other with each other's strengths in this capacity?
It's definitely our dance. We have amazing chemistry as co-founders. We're both creative. We're both creative problem solvers. So we've become really self-aware that we need people who are are really strong when it comes to discipline because both of us like will start something like a process around like even like strategy, like we're going to do this model of strategy, right? And then we both get curious about, oh, let's shift it, let's change it up. Like just because we love evolving and changing, we get bored if things are consistent, and that is no way to build a company. Like team loves consistency, team loves discipline as they deserve. And so, that's not our strength. So we're self-aware on where we both have weaknesses, where we really need people to be by our side. So over the years, we've brought in executive coaches, strategists, and we built our team around complementary strengths. And then in terms of our kind of role in the world, he is what this world needs more of is he is a strong man with a good point of view, who wants to support women and women feeling good in their bodies and good in business. And, that is so powerful. And he knows to be a little more of the silent infrastructure while I'm out in the world just getting after it. On various stages. So yeah, we have a really amazing connection in that regard.
And have built an amazingly successful business because of it. So that's fantastic. I love it. My husband also runs a trade association. So I'm really blessed to sort of also be in the same universe and same business and have that. So that's really great.
It
So
doesn't work for everybody. I
no,
mean, that's what I tell people because a lot of people are like, oh, maybe I should do that. I'm like, do a little test, do a little trial run, because it can really go sideways.
Right.
It's not for all couples, you know. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Don't quit your job and blow up the house and then hope it works, right? Yeah. Yeah. Um, so Sadie, you've been featured in Time and Forbes and Medium and NPR and so many important communication vehicles. And I guess like if I had to ask you, what do you think resonates the most for people around your story and the brand that you've built?
That's a good question.
Mm.
I think what I I think what I hear the most is people will come to my Instagram and DM me after listening to something. What I hear the most is I felt like you were inside my head, like saying exactly what I've been feeling my whole life. And thank you for, frankly, being brave enough to talk about it. In that, the importance of finding community and feeling lonely, even when you look like you have it all together, a lot of us don't.
Yeah.
And I think I look like I have it together. I mean, I when I look at my own Instagram, I'm like, dang, you're doing good, but I know the truth.
I mean, like you look great today. You might have sweatpants or pajamas
Yeah,
on.
yeah, exactly. Um, you never know what's going on behind underneath the Zoom, right?
That's
It's
right.
the thing. That's a metaphor for life. Um, it's so true. But that part, and then also not feeling connected in my body and having this self-talk about that I'm not enough and that my body needs to change to be accepted, to be sexy, to be attractive, to be winning, to be achieving. We have so much pressure as women to look the part, to belong, and that's such a manipulation of the industry when people, I think, when we're advertised to do fitness to look a certain way, that taps into that human need to belong. And of course we all want to belong. Of course we all want to be accepted and admired in the world. And so I think a lot of us women put so much pressure on ourselves to look a certain way, and that doesn't help us. That's not what we need. We want people to love us for, the true us. For who we are, and that discovery and me talking about that is, I think, what resonates the most and what people really appreciate. And then um I walked into a Bar 3 studio and everything you said was 100% what I experienced, and that's because the women who own Bar 3 share my story, share that thread in their own way, and really take care of their community with that in mind. And it's what I'm most proud of, for sure.
You should be. It's so inspirational. And even I go, like, I've got an 11-year-old daughter, and right, like what we're teaching about bodies and image and health and what that all looks like. And I don't know, I'll tell you, all those girls are into skincare right now. Like that's
Yeah.
what it's literally birthday parties. That's what you do with that. So anyway, I'm learning too, but I think having a place and a home and a message for women is so important. And it's amazing that you've done that. So to that point, um, I'd love sort of the evolution, or maybe not, of the definition of strength and how that has defined and maybe changed a little since you've started Bar 3. I know we talk a lot about this industry is a pretty young industry. This industry is only really a 45-year-old industry. And it sort of started with people wanting to get bigger or smaller. And somewhere in the midst of all of that, it became about strength. And especially for women, has there been an evolution that you've seen with that?
First of all, I've always seen strength as both physical and psychological, both and. You cannot separate the two, in my opinion. It's really important to embody strength. And I do not believe that anybody has the answer when it comes to strength, of what strength should look like or feel like, except for the hero, the client. She gets to discover what strength is.
Mhm.
I'm a bit allergic to rules when it comes to this stuff. Right now, there's a ton of great information about women needing to be strong. What I would caution is there isn't one formula to be strong. There are many ways to get strong. And I think, we can get a little narrow in our viewpoint and obsessive, especially women. And I'm speaking from my own experience of, oh, I better go do deadlifts and I better go do these things because, oh my gosh, it's almost fear-based. And that's what women have to do. And I really think, yes, I mean, when you study strength in the lab, it is very important for our bone density, for our longevity, for our endurance, all 100%. And when you're building strength, honor your own body and what you need. Because if you don't, two things will happen. Number one, you'll get injured. If you're not doing it in a way that's aligned and in a way that's what you need in that very moment, which no one knows except for you. And that's what we do at Bar 3 is we guide clients in a series of questions throughout class to make sure they're moving in a way that honors what they need in that very moment, which none of us know. So we avoid injury while building strength. We've always done that. And then number two is how do you feel? Like how does this make you feel? What does strength mean to you? Do you feel more powerful as a woman standing tall, having to give a presentation? Is it easier to pick up your child? Do you need to build that inner center core strength to be resilient in the world right now? I think the psychology of strength is just as important. So right now, strength is all about build, build, build women and eat all the protein in all the world every single day,
Yeah.
which I think is a little extreme, honestly. But back when I started in 08, it was opposite. I think it's better where it is. It was opposite. There were some big fitness public figures that were saying things like get teeny tiny arms. This is about being itty bitty, lean and defined, right? Versus strong and powerful. And I think words matter when it comes to strength. And I think that clients' own body wisdom matters when it comes to strength. And that us as an industry, we can be guides, but we aren't the best teacher. Every client is their own best teacher.
I love what you said about strength, though, about being both mental and physical. And I couldn't agree with you more on that. And that lens is so important. So as we sort of wind down here, I'd love to know, because Bar 3 it continues to stand out. And you talk about what it means to be a franchisor and so many other franchises and people in our space that maybe own 10, 15, 20 gyms and fitness centers, and they're all looking at what the franchise model means and could look like. And how do you, as maybe especially in the boutique space, continue to stand apart in sort of the sea of franchises and more to come?
Mm-hmm. Well, I think our history, we've been doing it for a long time. And then my history back to when I was 25 years. I mean, I've been doing it my whole professional career. And our team is so passionate about being a franchisor. Not everybody can be a franchisor. I spend a lot of time talking people out of being a franchisor. People come to me, I mentor a lot of specifically women who are thinking, oh, maybe I'll become a franchisor because that seems like a really lovely way to scale, right? And it is, but it really it's not for everybody, and it does require an absolute focus on being a franchisor and what that means. The FDD every year, all the legal requirements, the relational aspect of when you have a franchisee, they're really excited to be a part of you in the beginning because they're part of something bigger. They get all the training, all the support. And then, a year in, they're doing really well. It's like, why am I franchising? Like I could do this on my own. And sometimes the franchisee, there's a whole psychology that happens. If you talk to any franchisor, they'll tell you the same thing. And then the franchisee is like, wait a minute, why am I giving you some of my revenue? Like my royalty? Like I can do this, So it's a constant reminding and a relational I mean, I have over 100 business partners, financial business partners, a lot of stakeholders that we manage, and that's not for everyone. And I will say we do it exceptionally well, and we like those challenges. We like the relational aspect of it. And I do think that is our competitive advantage, because we've been doing it for so long, and we truly love it. And if you love something, then you're going to continue to double down on it.
Yeah. And it shows. It shows.
Yeah.
So Sadie, I think you touched on it a little earlier, but kind of in closing here, um, if you could look back on your younger self, right? You had said, raise your hand, put your dream team together, but maybe in closing here, anything that you'd love to add, your thoughts, perspective on, for our listeners who might be new to the industry, might be trying to scale up to their industry, and what kind of advice would you give?
This world needs you. This world needs you. We have never needed folks just like you. If you're listening, you have a problem you uniquely want to solve in the fitness and wellness industry. And trust that it's enough, and there's plenty of audience for you, like the world needs you. And you can do it in a way that I can't do it, you know. And there is, until everybody in this world is feeling secure in their bodies, healthy, happy, thriving, not worrying about lifestyle illnesses that can be prevented. There is plenty of work for all of us, and more is more, and get to it. Get to work.
That's brilliant. This world needs you. I think what a great way to go out. Sadie, thank you so much for being here with us today and sharing your thoughts and perspective with our audience, and for everything you've done for everybody in the space, and for women specifically. Very grateful for you. So thank you.
Thank you.
And thanks for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.